but what, for busy professionals like myself, I mean, talk to it. And those who are watching, hi ladies, I see you. Talk to us about just little things, at least, that we can start doing, because before we have the conversation with the doctor and says,
Yes.
Miss So-and-so, it's either exercise or we're putting you on medications. So
Ooh, what can
before
we
we
do?
get there, tell us what we
Mhm.
can do.
So the first thing that you want to do before you get there is kind of where our conversation started at, and that is to get a clear idea of what your why is. And I call it, when I take my clients through, the why that makes you cry. There has to be an emotional reason behind your transformation. Otherwise, you're not going to stick with it. It can't be a vacation in 30 days or a wedding at the end of the year. It's got to be a lot deeper than that, because that's what's going to remind you of why you're doing it on the days where you don't, right? And so that is where I would start, number one. Number two, you have to get realistic with your lifestyle. So if you're, and I think a lot of people go that 0 to 100 method, and then they fall off the wagon because it's not a fit for their lifestyle, because they can't stick with it. What's that happy medium, right? If you know you got 30 minutes a day at 6 a.m., 3 times a week, that's your truth. That's where you start. Because ultimately, what you enjoy and what's realistic to your lifestyle is what you're going to be consistent to. And so you don't have to join the Orange Theory or do 1,000 burpees or whatever it is that you feel like you need to do. I tell my clients this all the time. Again, it's putting in the reps consistently over time that's going to get you to the end result, regardless if it takes you 3 months or 6 months. But get realistic on what that needs to look like, right? So then that way, it's like, I'm bought into this routine because it works for me. It works for Elsa. It works for Ariana. What works for Ariana right now is I love to run. The weather is breaking. I will get out and run. I just ran a 10K a couple of weeks ago. That's my jam. Right? I still lift weights and things like that. But when the weather is warm in the DC area, I'm getting outside and I'm running. I'm that Black girl running down the street and you like, is she running for someone? Like, is there something going on right now? I'm that girl. I'm that girl, because that's what I like and enjoy doing. Right? So again, after you get a deeper why, right? A why that makes you cry, establish a routine that works and fits well for your lifestyle. Then when it comes to the food, right? Now, let me ask you something. I know this is my interview, but if you had to pick food or exercise, what is your greatest vice? Like, what is the thing that you feel is the hardest to overcome in your journey over the years?
Food or exercise? It would be exercise. That's
the hard part.
That's the hard part. Yeah.
Got it. And so with exercise, right? So I'll talk about that. Then I'll go into the food. After you establish the routine that works well for you, really simply put, things to keep in mind is that every 10 years, you lose 10% roughly of your muscle mass. And so strength training is going to be your best friend, because strength training builds the muscles that help to break through long-term the body fat, right? Like, you got to have that combination of the ratio between the body fat and your muscular development. And also, as your muscles essentially lose that mass over time, it's going to change your body composition as well. So for the women listening, they're like, how do I get tight and toned, etc.? It's the muscle mass. And so that you have to do strength training, but y'all, at a minimum, twice a week. It doesn't have to be 5 days, twice a week, throw in some cardio, you're going to be okay. Now, during the pandemic, what happened? We all started sitting on our behinds and we probably gained some weight, right? I went through it. It's a very normalized thing that happened. But the real truth behind it is that we stopped being more active in our daily activities, whether that was getting in the car and commuting, walking down the street to grab a lunch, all of those little, instances of movement, right?
Absolutely.
We're really increasing our metabolism. And so outside of what I just shared, right, just throw in some daily movement, right? Whether that is getting up every hour and walking around the house, going for walks outside 3 times a week. Anything that you can do to add more movement throughout your day is going to rev up that metabolism to really support the additional physical activity that you're doing outside of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, totally.